Greetings adventurers, this is Lorne, your guild advisor, and it's been quite some time since I've done anime type content on the channel, but today I woke up, was driving to work, and this was really bugging me. So I wanted to give my thoughts on the matter, and as some of you already know, over the weekend, Sword Art Online, the movie Progressive Aria of a Starless Night, premiered in Japan last weekend, and I believe it had a pretty positive reception. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, even though I know pretty much the main story because I read most of the progressive novels already. This movie covers Floor 1 of SAO from Asuna's perspective alongside an original character for the movie called Mito. And again, for those of you who don't already know, Sword Art Online Progressive is originally a light novel series, just like the main series of SAO, and it covers the Aincrad arc, floor by floor. So Kirito and Asuna starting from floor 1 and making their way up through the levels, the floors. And also, I'm avoiding most of the spoilers because, again, this is from Asuna's perspective, whereas the light novel covers Kirito's, and I don't know much about the original character, Mito. That being said, they did announce a sequel movie slated for 2022 titled Scherzo of Deep Night. Now, at first glance, you'd think that another movie being announced to be adapted would be good news, and in some ways it is. More material being adapted into animated form is always cool to see. However, Scherzo of Deep Night covers the events of Volume 4 of Progressive, or Floor 5. And the first movie, Aria of a Starless Night, only covers Floor 1, or the first half of Volume 1 of Sword Art Online Progressive. So to get to the sequel movie, they are essentially skipping content from the later half of Volume 1 and also Volumes 2 and 3 to adapt Volume 4. And obviously, to my concerns, as well as to the concerns of many other light novel readers, are how exactly are they going to adapt Volume 4 without addressing stuff that happens in these previous volumes that we're skipping. There are characters introduced in previous novels that have a role in Volume 4's story. There's also the gradual development of Kirito and Asuna's relationship over the course of these volumes, heading into Volume 4 to the Scherzo of the Night story. How does Mito factor into this? Because, slight spoiler alert, next few seconds or so, Mito's still alive at the end of the first movie, so what are they going to do with her character? We have no idea. Skipping to Floor 5 in this way just brings in a huge bag of concerns that it feels like we didn't really need in the first place. Like, why do we absolutely need to have an SAO movie in 2022? What is stopping them from just adapting, like, the later parts of Volume 1 and 2 and 3 into, say, a TV series, and then have that build up into another movie, this time being the Scherzo of Deep Night, just being like a standalone movie that you watch after the TV series that covers those volumes. That would make more sense to me, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be their approach, because they absolutely would have announced if they were doing that, if they're already saying that this movie is going to happen in 2022. So that's probably out of the picture. And this is just speculation by me trying to figure out the justification for just skipping to Floor 5 and making that a movie. I think that because of the success of other anime movies, like the huge success of the Demon Slayer movie, Mugen Train, as well as the success movies like the standalone original My Hero Academia movies, I think the producers saw that and just wanted to make more movies for SAO because they think that's more profitable than just doing like a TV series. Though in Demon Slayer's case, they're going right back into adapting future content as a traditional TV series, so I'm not sure what they're doing here. The author of the light novel series, Kawahara Sensei, did make a comment on Twitter about the whole situation regarding the sequel movie, and I'm going to read it translated by the SAO Wikia Twitter account, but it says, "Those who have read the novels might be asking, where did Rondo, Concerto, and Barcarolle go?" Those are basically the three stories that we are skipping. Due to the L4 quest not yet being completed, among other concerns, it was decided to animate Scherzo next. I believe that it will surely become a satisfying experience, so I hope to receive your continued support for the series. Now, maybe that is kind of a valid excuse, but I don't think so. Because the L4 campaign quest that he's talking about, like, yes, that whole subplot is not complete yet in the novels, but even so, the story's continuing floor by floor. It is a subplot that's happening kinda in the background as other concerns are happening floor by floor, and one of those other concerns is the story that they're adapting in the sequel. So it doesn't really make sense to adapt something that happens in the middle of a story first, and then going back later, possibly, because that's one thing that could possibly happen. They do the sequel movie adapting Volume 4, and then down the line they go back and adapt the material they skipped as a TV series or something like that. But that just makes the watch order very confusing, and it's like, why did you do this in the first place? Why didn't you just do the TV series first, like I said, and then do the movie? Even when the L4 subplot is completed in the series, it's not like they could just adapt that as a singular movie. Like, it takes place over the course of several volumes, like we go back to it every now and then throughout these volumes. You can't just somehow bring it all together into a singular movie. It just doesn't work like that. It makes much more sense to adapt this stuff as a traditional TV series. And one of the many criticisms people have of SAO, and SAO has a lot of criticisms, is the fact that they skip floors all the time in the beginning arc of Aincrad. And SAO Progressive was a way to basically just go up floor by floor, telling the story at an even pace, not having any skips between these floors. And now the way they're choosing to adapt the material is just going against that mentality. And it's a real shame too, because one of my favorite characters in Progressive I wanted to see animated ever since they announced the first movie is from the L4 campaign. And I really wanted to see Floor 4 animated because I thought it would be a really cool thing to see, because it's a very beautiful place. And now we're just really unsure on how the rest of the adaptation of Progressive is gonna go. Now, before people go and complain and harass A1 Pictures, who is the studio in charge of animating SAO, please keep in mind that decisions like these aren't usually made by the actual anime studio, but rather by producers and the production committee behind the show. These are the people that are actually funding the anime. They're the ones that make these decisions on how content is going to be adapted, like how many episodes it's going to get, if it's going to be a movie, the type of budget it gets, and all that stuff. A1 Pictures is really just who they are contracting to animate the movie. So it's not really them that's choosing like how to adapt the content and what content to adapt. Let's not forget that A1 Pictures has brought us great adaptations like Kaguya-sama and the currently airing 86 series. This is simply a decision by the production committee and producers on how to adapt SAO Progressive. They seem to think that a movie is the best way to make money, and most likely it probably is, though that's not to say that going the route of doing a TV series and then moving into a movie down the line again would have been a better way to go about it in a light novel fan's eyes. Now, as a fan of the franchise and the light novel series, I'm still looking forward to watching the first Progressive movie, and it should release in Western areas, or at least US and Canada, on December 3rd. But of course, I still have my concerns about how they're adapting the rest of Progressive. No matter how the rest of the adaptation goes, I highly suggest, if you like the first Progressive movie, that you go ahead and read volumes 1 through 3 of the series before diving into the sequel movie, Scherzo of Deep Night, which is, again, supposed to release sometime next year. Again, the cool thing about the Progressive series is that we're going floor by floor in an arc that many people thought should have lasted a lot longer. We're finally getting an experience, Kirito and Asuna teaming up for a very long time and seeing their relationship develop, and it's a really cool ride, and it's just disappointing to see how they seem to be going about the adaptation of this series. And in terms of the quality of writing of the series, it's a big improvement from the original main series, because the main series of SAO, the first Aincrad arc all the way to Alicization, was originally written as a web novel by Kawahara Sensei, and Progressive was written afterwards. So after all that growth as an author, Kawahara Sensei wrote Progressive. So again guys, very much looking forward to watching the first Progressive movie when it comes out in the West later this year, and crossing my fingers for how the future of the adaptation goes when it comes to the sequel movie. But yeah, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are, especially if you are light novel readers. Go ahead and put your concerns down below. Maybe you're not concerned. Maybe you're just excited to see that part of the story animated, and that's not going to change how you feel about the other volumes because you already experienced them by reading them. Very curious on what your guys' thoughts are. But anyway, go ahead and give this video a like if you liked it. Sub to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Join the Discord. And as always, this is Lorne, your guild advisor, signing out.